Good evening, Brian. It's Thursday. 2 vlogs in a row, back to back to back. Yeah, so today is Christmas Eve. Happy early Christmas, Brian. I hope that your Christmas Eve is going well and that it is fun and festive and not full of stress getting ready for Christmas and everything is just coming together beautifully. I know this year's Christmas is kind of not going to be like a normal Christmas and might feel a little bit like a bummer, but I hope that you're still able to do fun things. Like I mentioned to you the other day, some of the stuff that I've been doing to try and make it feel more like Christmas and more festive is leaning hard into the things I can do, like Christmas music and Christmas movies, and or baking cookies and those kinds of things. I did Toy Day in Animal Crossing today, and that was very festive and fun. So trying to like embrace those things that we can do has helped me be a little bit more cheerful over the last little bit. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about habit tracking apps. I know yesterday I gave a sort of update on exactly where I was at in the habits that I had been trying to track. But today I want to talk just a little bit about the apps that I've been using to do so. So first off, why would somebody want to use a habit tracking app? Or why did I decide to use a habit tracking app? So a couple of different things. I feel like overall, it's easy for me to figure out what I want to do, what the habits that I want to instill in my daily routine are, etc. It's easy for me to know what those things are. What's harder is making sure that I do them. So I feel like habit tracking apps have been able to help me increase my motivation to do things. They've provided a little bit of what I'm calling an impetus to do things, and that's a little bit different than motivation, and I'll explain how I sort of think of those two things differently. And it helps me decrease in procrastination and in putting things off. So all of that, all three of those things all sort of work towards the ultimate goal. The real goal is to increase goal behaviors. The things that I want to do more of, all three of these help me do those things more. So what I mean when I say motivation versus impetus, I feel like motivation is like the positive in terms of action, like doing something, positive feelings of being inspired to do things, wanting to do things, having the drive to do things, being excited about doing things. Some days you wake up and you're just like in a good mood and you're excited and ready and like you see all the, accomplishments that you have that day that you want to do, sort of almost like dominoes, and you're like excited to knock each one over and like take care of it. So that's sort of what I mean when I say motivation. Impetus, I feel like, is the feeling of needing to be over the hump into doing something. Imagine you're a ball of willpower and you're in a little divot. That divot happens to be at the top of a hill, but to go down the hill you have to push yourself up out of the divot before you go down and do the thing. And I feel like it's very easy, especially for me, especially if I'm feeling, not the best or kind of bummed or whatever, it's very easy and it feels very good to just stay in that divot and not do anything. And often I have found that it only takes a little bit of go to get me to start moving, but once I start moving, it's not hard to do the things that I'm supposed to do. If I'm feeling like I really just want to stay on the couch and watch YouTube videos and not go out for a run, it's not like throughout the entire 30 minutes that I'm running, it's a constant struggle to keep going. Once I get started, it's very easy to keep going. So it really is like just getting a little bit over a tiny bump, and then you're rolling downhill and you don't have to push and you don't have to try and you don't have to think about it. You're just doing it. And so impetus to me is that just that little bit of kick to get you out of your slightly comfortable resting spot in a little dip over a very small hump, and then once you get moving, you don't really have to push to keep going. So that's sort of what I mean when I say impetus versus motivation and how I think of those two things differently. And I think that a good habit tracking app does both of those things. It gives you motivation, which is more of just like a global excitement to do things, as well as gives you that little push to help you overcome the inertia of staying not moving. And then also it just helps you decrease your procrastination. So if those three things are what habit tracking apps do with the overall goal of increasing goal behaviors, how do the apps help you do those things? If I know that those are the things I want to do, why can't I just do them? What is a habit tracking app supposed to help with? So how I have found them helpful is that they provide a clear list of the things left to do for the day, or the things that I need to do. I can open my habit tracking app and see like, oh, these are the dozen things that I need to do today. I've done 3 of them. I have 9 more. Here is a very clear list of what I need to do next. So that helps because it doesn't, you're not looking for things to do. You're not waiting to be prompted by something. You have a list. And so whenever you're like, I need to be doing something, you can pull up a list and pick one, and that's what you're doing. Having a streak, being able to show that like I have successfully done this habit every day for the last month and a half is really very helpful for me, both in terms of increasing my motivation and giving me that impetus to do something. If it's 10:30 at night and I haven't practiced piano yet and I don't really feel like it, if seeing that little number that says like, I've done this every day for the last 95 days, do I really want one little tiny evening of not feeling like doing it do I want that to mess up 95 days of consistency? No. So being able to see that streak helps give me that impetus to just suck it up and get up and do it. And then it's a 96-day streak, and that's perfect. And then it also is helpful sort of retroreflectively to show progress. It's really easy in the day-to-day to sort of lose sight of if you've made progress, how far you've come, what you're doing better at. And so being able to see an app that shows like, oh wow, I have done these 7 things every day for the last 3 months is really, really nice. And it really, really helps pull you out of the moment of the day-to-day and help you zoom out and see the big picture and see like, wow, I have, 3 months ago, this wasn't part of my everyday, and now it has been for the last 3 months. So it allows you to see those accomplishments that you've seen, and it also helps you feel just positive feelings of self-confidence and self-worth. Like, hey, in this moment, in this evening, I might not be feeling the best, but like, wow, I have practiced, piano every day for the last 3 months, and I've practiced Spanish every day for the last 3 months. And those are both really good feelings to have. So having a good habit tracking app can help show you that progress as well as keeping you on track making that progress, as I mentioned before. So sort of with all of that, that leads to like what I look for in a habit tracking app. And what I generally look for is obviously you have to be able to add tasks. The more customizable those tasks are, the better. And the ability to show that history, those streaks over time is really helpful too. So those 3 core things are required basically. Nice to haves are, so automation, if it can hook into the health app. So, for example, if I log a run on my Apple Watch, the health app sees that. So if I have a goal of running, a 5K 3 times a week, I don't have to go into my habit tracking app and then hit the checkbox to say I ran 5 kilometers. It knows I did that because I already logged the workout on my Apple Watch, which syncs in that data to the health app, and that habit tracking app looks at the health app and automatically checks it off when you've hit that goal. Hooks into shortcuts is also very helpful, especially for me right now with the shortcut I've been working on lately. Being able to have a shortcut that can get the status of a task for that day, can see the historical status of that, can check it off, can uncheck it. All those things are very, nice to have. And then the more that it's embraced widgets in iOS 14, the better, because then you can see information at a glance, and it's just better. You can, use the app in more different ways. So the app that I've been using for a long time is called Streaks. I've talked about it to you. I talked about it in my last vlogs. I think you've used it a few times, and it's great. It's really, really good. There is a huge customizability of the kind of tasks you can hit. You can have it be X number of times a day, a week, every other day. You can do all of those kinds of things. It seems to be as many different ways as you can think to do it. You can set it up. You can also have different kinds of tasks, like regular tasks that you just check off, timed tasks where if you click it, it starts a timer and then it runs until you stop it or it reaches the daily goal. You can have, like I mentioned, have health-based apps that pull data from the health app, whether it's amount of calories you eat in that day or amount of steps you've taken, etc. But all that can be automated. Tons of different kinds of things. They even have negative tasks where you start a day with a check and then your goal is to not do a behavior, and if you do the behavior, you tap it to uncheck it, and that marks a miss for that day. So it's really, infinitely customizable almost for everything that I have ever thought to do with it. It's also just very easy to use and very clear to use. Everything works the way it should. If you're ever like, I wonder if I can do this, it's very easy to figure out how to do that, and it's just very user-friendly. It also just looks really good. It's very prettily designed, and it has all of those hooks into the automation, like I mentioned, as well as into shortcuts. So the real only weakness to Streaks, and the thing that led me to wanting to look at other habit tracking apps, was that you are limited to only adding 12 streaks at a time. They say this because they don't want people to, get bogged down with too much and lose sight of it, and they want you to be focused on, here's the core things I'm working on. And that's great, but like I've definitely encountered situations where I might want to track more than 12 things, and it's that hard limit. I was like, I wonder if there's any other apps out there that are good at this enough that it's worth switching. So I checked out two. One is called Habit Tracker. The default icon is like a pink square with a circle and a check mark. So if you're looking at it in the App Store, that's what it looks like. And that one is very customizable as well, but it's absolutely not clear when you're setting it up. When you're adding a task, it's very hard to know exactly how, the timing works. Is this like, I've got a task that I've tried to put in for every other day, and I'm still not entirely clear if I've put it in for every other day or if it's 2 days per week or exactly how that works. Like it seems to have a lot of toggles, but it's very confusing to try to figure out what those toggles mean and how to set it up properly. And that sort of lack of clarity carries throughout the entire usage of the app. It's not clear how to set things up properly. Sometimes it's not clear how to check things off or how you've set it up. Like, for example, I've got stuff that's supposed to be like 3 times a week, and it seems like I get notifications for like, yay, you've completed your week halfway through the week after only doing it twice. There are little dots that seem to signify, oh, if this is 6 times a week and you've done it 4 times, 4 of the 6 dots are lit up. But that doesn't seem to match with the actual number of times that I've checked it off that week. It's just very confusing and very unclear. And I've been using it for a couple of weeks now, and I just don't ever feel like I have a good, confident understanding of exactly what it's telling me. And it also doesn't seem like I don't have a lot of confidence that it's actually tracking things appropriately. Another thing that it seemed to do is that things will just start completing themselves without me having completed them. So sometimes it seems like things that are supposed to be like every other day will show like, if I do it on Wednesday, it's completed for Wednesday. It also will show completed for Thursday because that's the off day and I don't need to do it that day. So I guess it's showing completed, like you're good, you don't have to do it. But that doesn't happen all the time. Or it'll be a task that doesn't seem like it's linked into anything like the health app for steps, but it'll just start checking off throughout the day, but I haven't checked it off. Like it seems like it looks like it should have all of the power that Streaks has, but it is very unclear to set up. It's very unclear to use, and I'm not confident that it's actually tracking the data the way it's supposed to be. So after using that compared to Streaks is the clear winner. Habit Tracker has been very frustrating to use. And the other one that I have used is very similarly named. It's called the Habit Daily Tracker. This one is very pretty. I didn't mention that about Habit Tracker, but it's also not a very good looking app. It just, it looks like they tried to build a bunch of stuff, but never did any polishing, never made it pretty or clearly designed from a user experience perspective. So the Habit Daily Tracker is a little bit different. It's very pretty. It's very easy to use, but it seems much less powerful. It doesn't seem to show streaks, but has sort of come up with its own like percentage score that you get, presumably based on how much you've done it, but it's not like if you've done it for the last few weeks, it's 100%. Like it's I guess trying to come up with its own algorithm to like score you on how good you are at it, but I'm not entirely clear what that means. You can see like I have done this over time. You can pull up a little mini calendar view for each habit and see like on these days I did it, but it's not just a raw number streak. Like you've done this consistently for 45 days without missing it or whatever. And then it just seems like there's less customizability and less power. So all of that experimentation over the last few weeks with those other alternate apps has brought me back to Streaks. Streaks seems like it can do all the things that I want and then some, and it does so in a very clear and well-designed way. It has good hooks into the health app and automation. It has good hooks into shortcuts. It has strong widgets. You can set up the task in almost any way that you want, and it's very clear how you're doing it. And then it also seems like the tracking is rock solid compared to the Habit Tracker, where it seems like it's not tracking it the way it's supposed to. It's checking it off unnecessarily, or it's not clear, like I've checked this off or I haven't checked this off. Streaks is 100% solid and accurate and fantastic. So after this trial of other habit tracking apps, I'm definitely left with feeling like Streaks is clearly the winner. Streaks is the best app to use for the kind of habit tracking I do, and so that's what I'm gonna keep doing. So this again, it turns into a very long video, and I'm sorry about that. It's also a little bit more like a a daily journal of where I'm at right now, but I feel like it's beneficial. I know you've been interested in habit tracking apps before and you've started to use them and have thought about them. So I've been using at least one consistently for the last almost year, and then have tried a couple others recently. So I feel like I can definitely recommend using a habit tracker for anybody who has any kind of habit they want to start doing or stop doing, or something they want to build into their day every day. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about habit tracking apps and trialing them. So if you have any questions, Brian, about how to use them best, if you're like, I want to do these things, but I'm not sure how to do them with a habit tracker, if you want to know about different habit tracking apps or how to use them to get them, how to use them and how to think about them to get the most benefit, please let me know. I'd love to talk to you more about them and sort of share what I've learned over the last few months and year working with this stuff. So that's sort of where I'm at in terms of habit tracking apps, what I think about them, why I use them, what they need to have, and the one that I feel is the best. But I hope this was somewhat interesting. I have more vlog topics coming out soon, so I'll see you soon, Brian. Have a good night and Merry Christmas.